answer your own question in terms of the political positioning of the Green Party, perhaps that would be helpful to know.
Yes, yes. No, I see myself as left of centre and think that that's where our party is. I think it's been quite difficult. Some people are not always terribly sure where we lie, but that for me is what's always been an important part of it, the social justice part, obviously environmental. In fact, I came into it because of our economic policies. No growth was one of the main things that I just thought that's a big issue in terms of environmental, and so it's the environmental and citizen income and these kinds of things that are much more about social justice, because of course all these things are all tied up. So that's where I would position myself in that. Thank you.
Do you have another question for Jane, or would you like to move on to the closing speeches now? I'm mindful of the time, it's 8:20.
I just asked, will we get to ask any more questions, or did I miss the chance?
You missed the chance, but actually, if you want, is that okay? Would you like to?
I'm more than happy to give my questions.
If you just introduce yourself and your local party,
Okay,
and then direct the
my
questions.
name is Jennifer Nader and I'm from West London. And because I've got, if it's possible to answer them quickly, I've got 3 quick questions. One is more a comment that I just have to say to disenfranchise people from being able to vote Green for me feels deeply wrong to restrict the number of candidates and deprive people of the chance of voting for you. I find quite upsetting. But what I'd like to ask you as Chair, 2 things. If you had 1 minute with the editor of the Daily Mail and you had to pitch a story, what would it be? And the other is, how would you go about getting representation in the House of Lords?
Okay, who would like to take that first?
Jane?
Thank you. I have no idea what I would say to the Daily Mail. Yeah, I think a very nice question. Yes, why they should cover us, of course. I'm not sure that very many Daily Mail readers would be interested in this, would they? So we've got to get their interest.
There's also the second part of the question about representation in the House of Lords.
Yes. What was the actual question about that?
How would we obtain?
How would you go about trying to obtain representation?
It is not being the government, speaking to the government, as we have been doing. Certainly when I was on DFX last time, we were heavily involved in discussions, and we really thought we were getting somewhere. We were going to get our own member, apart from the person who had come to us, obviously. And I think just more of that, especially at the moment when there are discussions going on again, I believe, about this. And so it's something I would certainly want to be involved with. I think that's a very important part, role for the Chair to take on, is doing that. Probably in conjunction with a number of other GPEX members, whoever is able to keep themselves to that. But I think that, yeah, personal lobbying has got to be the main one forward for that one.
Sorry, that was a bit of an unfair question.
With the Daily Mail.
It's just how we present ourselves to a wider community, and as Chair, you will get the chance at some point to have that conversation.
Yes, yes. And I think it's important that I do try and do that as well, of course. It would be very useful role for us to be able to do, I think, in the House of Lords. Yeah, no, I'm still stuck on Daily Mail though.
Perhaps I'll pass it over.
I don't read it, so I don't really know.
Okay, so Rael, 1 minute with yours to the Daily Mail.
I would say that the Green Party is dedicated to defeating racism in this country. Someone who suffered from, in a very personal sense, in a personal way, what it means when racists get influence in society. I would say that, especially given that one of our targets in the last in the European election campaign was a region where unfortunately a BNP member got elected instead, and the leader of the BNP, Nick Griffin, no less. I would say that one of our main objectives that we're going to prioritise in the next European election, and wherever they rear their ugly heads, is to defeat the BNP MEPs in North West and Yorkshire and Humber. And I'd say that we're going to prioritise defeating those MEPs for the good of the country and the good of people of Britain. That's what I'd say to enter the email.
Okay, and representation in the House of Lords.
I mean, yeah, we should be looking to gain representation and gain seats at all levels of government, including the House of Lords. Despite the fact that, I mean, I think like most people in the Green Party, I think it's an undemocratic institution that should be abolished in favour of sort of directly at the second chamber. I would actually say the best way to try and get representation in the House of Lords would be to focus on getting representation in the House of Commons first. Once we do that, that'll take us, and the government of the day will take us more seriously, and we'll be in a position more to consider any requests or any lobbying efforts we made to have a member in the House of Lords. I mean, nothing really convinces like seats and power. The more seats you have, the more power, and that's where your mandate comes from. So yeah, I'd say focus on the House of Commons first.
Okay, thank you. I'll just pass back to Jane to use your first question.
Yeah, I think Ryan's right. I think it's a good topic to look at with the topic of ethnic minorities and the coverage of the paper in relation to all those areas. There's a whole range of areas I think that they could look at, isn't there, in terms of that. So from the sports page to entertainments. Equally women, I think, as well. We're quite interested to see what their coverage is of women and how we could maybe move forward with that as well. On the environmental front, which is what I'd really like to push,